Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center here at the University of New Haven. I'm Mike Maguire, and this is a special edition of Pitch Perfect. You know, Pitch Perfect is all about students having the opportunity to stand on the spot and pitch their business ideas to an experienced panel of judges and entrepreneurs. Well, tonight we're introducing something called Entrepreneurs Roundtable. We're taking the opportunity to stop a second, have some of our judges and entrepreneurs spend some in-depth time to talk about their experiences, the mistakes they've made, and the advice they may have for our contestants here at Pitch Perfect. So please join me. Well, welcome back, everybody. As I said, we've got an incredible panel of experienced entrepreneurs with us tonight. So I'm going to introduce each of them. This is Rich Fisler, Phil Viscomi, and Ripi Singh. What I'm going to do is have each of you just tell us a little bit about you, and I'm going to have some questions and things to share. So, Rich, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Well, I started out my career actually as a biomedical engineer, and I started writing software for CAT scan and MRI machines. And it was, at the time, revolutionary, although now it's trivial, but it was 3D imaging software. And I really got turned on by new technologies and bringing new technologies to the market. Many companies later worked in business development and a business director for PerkinElmer, and then ran business development for a startup next generation sequencing company, and learned the ins and outs of bringing technologies to market on a bigger scale. And then had my own consulting company for 7 or 8 years. There were 5 of us, and we worked with startup companies and helped them get Series A or Series B financing, and worked with them anywhere from 6 months to 3 years through that development cycle.
Wow, great, great. Thank you. How about you, Phil?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Mike, I started being an entrepreneur here while I was graduating from college.
From University of New Haven?
From University of New Haven, yes. I was an operations management major and an industrial engineering minor. And it was interesting. We were building software for a banking industry. And we were able to receive a consulting contract to write the software. And then we took that business and scaled it into a business where ultimately we had hundreds of banks running our software. So it was a fun first experience. I did several other entrepreneur projects, and then wound up being recruited by a company called Digital Equipment, where my first job at Digital Equipment was, interestingly enough, to do a joint venture with PerkinElmer.
Oh, okay.
I just learned that
Interesting,
from you.
yeah.
So we'll have to talk about that. And that was a lot of fun. We integrated our supply chains, and I became an entrepreneur through that process. And then after that, I went on to Compaq Computer and Hewlett-Packard as an entrepreneur doing global business development. I was on the road all of the time. But we ran our business as if each of our large customers was an individual business, an entrepreneurial business.
Okay.
So we were change agents in the company, effectively. After that, I was recruited to help with a couple of startups, and we went off and built those, launched them, and exited through acquisitions on those projects. And most recently, I've been working as a consultant, helping at the university also in a couple of training programs. So I've had the good fortune of having been an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur.
I was going to say that's an interesting combination. A lot of the similar skill sets you can put to work there.
I'll tell you a story about almost getting fired afterwards.
Oh, can't wait. Because I've actually been fired a couple times. And frankly, if you don't get fired, you're really not pushing the envelope far enough.
Exactly.
I think so. But that's just me. Ripi, how about you?
Well, I guess my first foray into trying to do something new was when I was in middle school. I built a working model of every earth-moving equipment that existed in India at that time. And my father took me to demonstrate that to the general manager of the construction site where he was working, and it was quite a thrilling experience. And ever since, I've been trying to build new stuff. Early career was in academics. I was a professor of aerospace engineering. And during that time, actually in 1996, I built a drone to deliver pizzas.
In 96.
In 96, and I think it was too far ahead of the time, and I was kind of just like, you get fired. I was almost fired from the school for trying to do that. And ever since, within the corporate sector, within the protected environment of university and big companies, I've done lots of startups, whether it's a project or a department or something like that. 4 years ago, I said, let's do this full time and have fun for myself. I've done enough of working for big companies. So now I coach innovation all the way from startups to growth companies to mature companies. whether it is coming up with a new product or a new service or a new business model. You know, I got clients across the world at the moment, and I'm having fun.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Excellent.
That's great. Well, there's apparently a common denominator here of either being fired or almost being fired, so that's emerging here in the discussion. But I want to bring up something else. Here at the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Program, we focus heavily not only on the academics, but on the experiential activities, the co-curricular activities, where students can actually try things and make mistakes in a very safe and supportive environment. My question to each of you, and I'll start with you, Phil, what was in your entrepreneurial journey, what was your biggest mistake, and what did you learn from it?
Interesting question. I think it's fair to say that the biggest mistake was hanging on to an idea without vetting it completely, too long.
Okay.
So what I've learned over time is ideas are cheap, but a vetted idea that has a value proposition, an unfulfilled need in the marketplace is invaluable if you can strike that. So a couple of times we've hung on a little bit too long and not dismissed the idea. And the things that are critical is the niche in the market that the idea fits and the value proposition. Simply stated, a what-if question that says, if I can sell a product or a service for X and it's going to cost me Y, what's that difference? And if we can put that on a napkin, go to Starbucks and have a chat and dismiss the things that have low value as early as possible and move on to the next one, because there's always another great idea out there that deserves to be pursued.
So was it an emotional connection that kept you from either hearing what the market was saying, or just hanging on to it, or what kept you from moving on?
Interesting. A failure to recognize the value proposition. Anyone that's an investor or any stakeholder really is looking for the value that's accumulated. And the bottom line is not the idea. We could be solving all of the forms of cancer in the world, but it's the difference. It's the economic value that you provide to your stakeholders, customers, investors, and employees that's most critical. And to be cognizant of that from the moment you begin is the absolute most important thing to do.
Oh, that's so interesting, because you're right. There's a lot of ideas out there, but if the market isn't going to rip money out of their wallet and pay you, and you can make money at it, does not have a value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens is, if it's your idea, you kind of fall in love with it. It's your baby. You hold on to it for longer than you should.
Yes.
Right? You got to see where your love is. Is it really with that idea, or to make a business out of that idea, right?
Yes.
I mean, I think you always need to have the passion for your idea. And for me, it's hard to communicate, that passion to someone who's looking for the bottom line. And we tried to take a product that was kind of merging, social media and life sciences into one product. And the funders for social media didn't get what the heck we were doing, and the life science people didn't get what we were doing. We thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And after 2 years, I still think it's the greatest thing in the world. And that was, 8 or 9 years ago. Right. But we couldn't find the money for it. Uh-huh. And the other failure of that product or that company was, I had a business partner, and we were going to make this business together. And we had different ideas about the time to recognize revenue, or how much patience did each of us had. And one of us didn't have as much patience as the other one. And so I think when you start a venture and you're a sole entrepreneur, that's one thing. But if you're partnering up with other people, I think having common expectations and common investment into that idea and how long it may take, I think is really important as well.
So an equal level of commitment.
Yeah.
I think one of the real tensions in startups is that you need different skill sets, and you need collaboration. But that's just harder to pull together, right, to your point, because there's usually very strong feelings or emotional feelings or passion about that given idea, and it may not be equal, and it may not be relevant at all, because the market won't validate it. So was that, how would you crystallize your biggest mistake then, Rich?
Well, that was a big mistake company, because it wasn't so much that we invested so much money, it was invested a lot of time into that. And so the two mistakes probably were just not seeing eye to eye with a business partner, and really probably overestimating the value of that product to the markets that we were trying to serve.
Interesting.
And didn't listen early enough to the people that were saying, what? You want what? No, we don't know what that is. Well, we'll go ask someone else. And we'll keep building the prototype and keep building the prototype and funding the prototype. And not listening. What we always recommend our clients to do is to listen to the market. Sometimes, physician heal thyself sometimes.
So oftentimes in the in an early stage company, the most important, valuable resource is time.
Yeah.
And if you don't get the maximum return on your time,
Right.
you're in trouble. Yeah.
Well, you do a little plug here for Charger Startup Weekend, but that's a lot at the University of New Haven's Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center for our Charger Startup Weekend. It's a lot of what we talk about. You got an idea, that's really cool. You got to get market validation for it, and I think the tendency often is to just rush to prototype or rush to product without getting that initial validation. But of course, you need the prototype to have, you know, a potentially saleable product.
I couldn't agree more. If you think about our businesses, we tend to run and emphasize being professionally competitive paranoia. And it's look at the competition every day, every week, formally every week. Where's my competition? How are they moving? In today's technology market, we can generate, someone else might come up with a feature, but we can replicate that feature and have it on our product in 1 or 2 weeks. It's so easy to develop those components. So if you don't stay ahead of the market and your competition and what their position is, and making sure you're investing your time and resources in the best return value proposition, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Ripi, how about you? Tell me about the big mistake or mistakes.
Well, allow me to provide an alternate perspective
Please, always.
to this definition of mistake. I think for somebody who thinks straight and narrow, the whole concept of entrepreneurship is a mistake. Okay.
Okay.
But for an entrepreneur, it's a journey of experimentation. You know, I would like to look at it as, have I made mistakes? No, I tried. I tried so many things. Either I succeeded or I learned and carried on, right? So, did I make mistakes? Yes, there are times I made mistakes because I did not learn from stuff that did not go right, and I fell in the same pit second time, and I fell in the same pit third time. To me, yes, that would be a mistake. And I've made some mistakes trying to judge the market, trying to judge the customer, trying to judge the opportunity. And some of them I've done it 3-4 times. But I think as an entrepreneur, you are an explorer, you are an experimentalist at heart.
Right.
And you should go with an intent that I've done my analysis, I know the risk I'm taking, and at the end of it, either I'm going to succeed or I'm going to learn. If you start thinking of mistakes, you will probably fall out of the entrepreneurship league.
Well, I think that's a pearl of wisdom I'm going to take away from that. That's a great, great perspective. It really is great. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much. This was very interesting, and I think I'm going to remove mistake from my entrepreneurial vocabulary. But Ripi, Phil, and Rich, thanks so much. I think that was engaging, interesting, and I think our viewers definitely came away with some nuggets that they can use. So thank you again. And thank you from the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center here at the University of New Haven. This is Mike Maguire, and this is Pitch Perfect.